Okay. I'm calling to order the March 25th, 2024 meeting of the Auburn Board of Selectmen. This open meeting of the Town of Auburn Select Board is being conducted both in person and remotely, consistent with Chapters 107 of the Acts of 2022, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For the public to join the meeting remotely, they can do by telephone by dialing 408-650-3123 with access code 235-235-861. Or the public can join via computer at global.gotomeeting.com/join/235-235-861. All supporting materials that have been provided to the members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Is there anyone else in the audience recording? Seeing none, we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anyone signed up for public comments? So we don't have any public comments. We do have a presentation from National Grid. Is there a representative from National Grid? Hi. Did you just want to come up? Sure, wherever is easier.
Whatever works for you.
right here is fine.
Yeah. Perfect, even better.
So could you just give us your name?
Yep, my name is Joe Carroll. I work for National Grid in the Stakeholder Engagement Group.
Great.
And we're here tonight. First off, thank you for the opportunity to join you this evening. We're here tonight really to provide an informative and proactive informational presentation on a future proposed project on our E5 F6 transmission line that runs through the town of Auburn. I know that I believe you've all been provided the slide deck, so that's great. I'll try and work through and not go too fast. But
You need a copy?
no, I have it on my phone, and we'll test to see how much of this I actually have in my head. But before I get started, I just want to call out the title on the slide is Central to Western Mass Energy Improvement Project. While this is on our E5 F6 transmission line, and internally that's how we refer to the project, when it comes to our external communication, so that includes permitting as well as our public outreach efforts, we wanted to rebrand the project name to try and relate it more to the areas that we'll be working, in part in hopes when we do our public outreach mailings, our website, to try and increase the engagement, catch the eye of the audience, and maybe have them, take a look at it rather than if it said E5 F6 transmission line, which really wouldn't mean a heck of a whole lot, right? So that's just a little bit about the rebrand. So on the next slide is the agenda. I won't spend too much time on that. We're really going to cover a general project overview, the scope of work as a whole, and then touch on some of the numbers specific to the town of Auburn. We'll go over the structure comparison, a general permitting overview, the current project schedule, and then conclude with some resources that are available to the public to reach a member of the outreach team or ask any questions. So with that being said, the next slide, next page will be the general project overview. So a little bit about the E5 F6 transmission line. It was originally constructed in the early 1900s. Between the transmission line and tap lines, it consists of approximately 690 structures, travels through 16 communities, and is roughly 67 to 69 miles in length. So it's a fairly long right-of-way, long transmission line. The goal of this project is a complete rebuild of the transmission line structures and tap structures. In addition to rebuilding the structures, we're going to be performing any necessary vegetation management work. So that could include tree clearings. It could also be as simple as mowing or trimming. In terms of any numbers, I don't have specific information at this point in time. A lot of that's still under review. We'll also be installing optical ground wire, which in short really helps improve the communication between the structures and stations and also acts as a second line of defense from weather events such as lightning strikes. And we'll be making any necessary access road improvements to approach the structures. Oh, that's even better. Thank you, Madison. In addition to replacing structures, we'll be installing the wire. I meant to mention, so I apologize for this. The transmission line currently operates at 69 kV. And for folks who aren't familiar, kV just represents the voltage of the line. And that is the planned operating voltage when construction is complete. However, the new structures will be built to the standards to operate at 115 kV. So while the structures will be built to an increase in voltage, the plan is still to remain operating at 69 kV. Specific to the town of Auburn, we'll be replacing 44 existing structures with new structures and wire. So I know that's a lot of information and I probably jumped a little bit. So I'll pause if there are any questions or anything I can clarify on this slide.
Do board members have any questions?
How long is the, you mentioned it's going through 16 communities. How long is the lines that you're replacing, the length?
So in terms of like mileage?
Yeah.
I don't have the mileage for the town for specific to Auburn, but that's,
The whole thing is, I thought you said a number.
yeah, so the right of way is 67 to 69 miles long.
Okay.
Yep. But I can try and go back and get more of a specific number and share that with you specific to the town.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yep.
A couple of questions.
Yep.
Do you anticipate any power disruptions as a result of the
No.
replacement?
Not while we're working on the transmission structure.
And what happens with the old structure? What's the composite? Is it metal? Is it wood? Is it pressure? Or is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of both, but the new structures will be steel.
So the new structures will be steel. The existing structures now will be removed once construction is complete. So they're kind of a combination of steel, wood.
Okay, nothing will remain in place. It will be,
Yep. So once we complete the construction and the new structures are live, we'll be removing the existing structures. Yep.
Are there any additional questions? Please go ahead.
So the next slide is really just more of a visual for folks to kind of come back. So if this is posted to your website, a resident can come in and just familiarize themselves where the right-of-way is. So the orange reddish line just represents the right-of-way and where it goes through the town. And I do have a couple streets that I know were on our abutter mailing list. So it includes Leicester Street, Old Cart Road, Briarcliff Drive, Ashburn Road, Saratoga Road. And those are just some examples. So just to kind of give you a little more of an idea of some of the streets. On our next slide, again, is really just a visual to, kind of showcase and compare the existing structures that you would see today versus what the proposed structures may look like when construction is complete. So on the left-hand side is an example of a typical lattice structure that you would see within the right-of-way. And on the right-hand side is an example of the double circuit structure. So that is what the proposed structures will look like. So you can kind of see the visual difference in them. And on our next slide, we can kind of dive into a little more the characteristics of the structure. So this is an example of a typical cross-section in an existing 125-foot wide right-of-way, which is the current industry standard for a 115 kV structure. Generally speaking, throughout the entirety of the right-of-way, there will be roughly a 2 to 5 foot offset from where the existing structures are located now to where the proposed structures will be placed. Also, the structure height will range from 5 to 25 feet taller in height compared to the existing structures. That's due in part to the wiring that's going to be run and placed, as well as just because of the increase in potential voltage operating. So there'll be a roughly 5 to 25 foot difference in height compared to the existing structures. Any questions there?
I have a question. Your anticipated schedule, 3-year period, is that boots on the ground here in Auburn, or is that the schedule for the entire 67 or 69 mile?
Which side are you on? You jumped ahead of me a little bit.
Under the permitting
one, yeah.
process?
This one right here. So, yeah, so this is just the entirety of the project. This doesn't mean, like, if you look at construction and restoration from 2028 to 2033, that doesn't mean we're going to be working within the right of way from 2028 to 2033 in the town. That's just the entirety of the project. But so jumping back one slide, just to kind of touch on some of the permitting process, it doesn't encompass all the permits. It's going to be a very extensive process. But I just like to highlight a few of the aspects of this. So at the top is the Energy Facility Siting Board, which is the state siting application. I like to highlight that it provides the opportunity for municipal and abutter participation to be involved, to ask questions. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with it, but I encourage you, if you're not, to look it up and take advantage of that opportunity, and so you can be part of the process and stay involved. We also have a number of environmental permitting efforts, such as our environmental notification form, which we anticipate filing in May of this year. That is still subject to change. And then we'll also have any local permits that are necessary, such as the local conservation commissions. The anticipated schedule for all of the permitting is 2024 to 2027. So it's a fairly long process. On our next slide, this is a current project schedule, and as with all construction, the dates are really subject to change. But some things we wanted to highlight are stakeholder outreach, so that includes mailers to abutters, a project website, meetings such as this, or any other members of the town that want to hear the presentation. Really kicked off in the fall of last year, and is something we're committed to throughout the life of the project. Our field assessments kicked off in the summer of 2023 and will remain ongoing. So that includes activities such as access reviews, cultural resource testing, soil boring, and construction reviews, among others. We'll also have vegetation management efforts, which kicked off in the summer of last year ahead of soil borings. And we anticipate that to continue into the fall of this year. And then there'll be another round of vegetation management ahead of construction, which we anticipate that round to begin sometime in 2027. As I mentioned, our permitting is going to be a fairly significant process, federal, state, and local reviews, and that current timeline is 2024 to 2027. And then, as we touched upon a few minutes ago, construction and restoration efforts, we anticipate to begin in 2028 and remain ongoing into 2033. And as we move forward through the project, we're going to be proactive with our communication, so folks will know when the work is happening, so they don't just see trucks showing up in there right away, and being like, oh, what's going on here? So the next slide, I won't spend too much time because I'm sure I'm already over my time limit. These are just some visuals for folks to familiarize themselves with some of the activities they may see or some of the equipment they may see. On the left-hand side are some of our pre-construction activities, and on the right-hand side are just some typical transmission line construction equipment. So it's really just a visual. One that's not pictured here is the potential use of a helicopter at points throughout the right-of-way. If we are to utilize a helicopter, all the proper communication will be made, and we'll do a second round of follow-up with local police and fire so that they know what's going on. So if a resident calls about a helicopter flying around the right-of-way, the chief dispatch will know what's going on and can respond to that. And then lastly, again, thank you for the opportunity to join you here tonight. These are some resources that are available now for members of the public, members of the town. They're live. We have a dedicated project hotline number, a project email, as well as a project website. And as we continue to move forward and get closer to construction, any updates will be posted to the website to keep folks up to date. So with that being said, I know I had a lot of information there, so if there are any other questions, or if you think of any questions after we leave, you can certainly reach out to us on this website, or you can reach out to myself personally or Madison as well.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions? By all means.
Even better. So you mentioned the Energy Siting Board. Will abutters be notified when those type of hearings are being held? And obviously, we meet at night. When do they meet typically?
So that process is typically held during the day. And I do believe there is a mailing that comes out with that. What we can also do is within our project website is kind of post that date as well. I'll be honest, I haven't gone through the process yet. So I'm not sure, if Madison or Kalima, if you know anything additional on that.
As we, once we get closer to filing, we have a filing date, we'll be sharing that with all the towns, so you guys have a chance to come out. But right now, we don't have that date. It'll be either, Madison or Joe communicate the towns, will be on the website.
Are there any anticipated increases in fees? You just said this is going to be a very expensive process. So how is this being paid for?
So in terms of an increase in fees, that's not something that I am familiar with. We go through rate cases and everything has to be approved. So it's not like we do this project and then increase it. I believe it's twice a year that rates can potentially be increased.
Did you want to step up to the podium? Thank you. Yep. Either wherever, just a microphone so everybody could hear.
Thank you. My name is Rahul Shah. I'm part of the project management team for the project. Yeah, so the rate case at this time, it's not known to us, and this is not the only project that will be driving this process. It's they look at it on a whole company level, and that's not the information known to us at this time. If that answers your question.
My last question is, can you supply us something that we can put on the website so that for people, because we didn't have it for the folks at home, and if somebody watches this and might want to know more, it would be helpful to have your presentation so we can post it
Yeah,
on the website.
I believe the presentation was shared ahead of the meeting, but we can certainly resend it so it can be posted and anything like that.
Thank you. Does anybody have additional questions? I just have a quick question. Why such a big difference in height? You said that it could go from 5 to 25 feet?
Yeah, so it really just has to do with the new wiring that's going to be placed and the increase in potential voltage capacity. So it really has to do with the standards for safety and
Okay.
operating.
Thanks. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I just make a motion that we make this, ask town administration to make this available on the website? I would make that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
Second, yeah. May I also add that we should put the website link on our website, the link to their website.
Sure. Is there the second to the combined motion?
Yes. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. Thank you. Next, we have the 2023 audit presentation.
Madam Chair, before we take that, because I know we have Boy Scouts and we have Night at the Races, can we take those items?
Is that a motion?
I would make a motion that we move Selectmen's General Items 7A and 7B in that order.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. So hold on for one moment. Could we move forward with 7A with the Boy Scouts? Hi, could you just give us your name and tell us what your request is? Thank you.
My name is Maureen Grunzevich. I am the Cub Master for Pack 53, one of the Cub Scout packs within the town of Auburn.
Great. So, and you have a request?
Yes, request for open air permit to hold our clothing drive that we used to hold at Chuck's Steakhouse, and that's obviously not an option anymore. So we figured the library was a good central location. It's our main fundraiser throughout the year. got 55 scouts ranging from 5 to 12 that really depend on that fundraiser, so.
Great. Do board members have any questions?
You mentioned it's a clothing drive. What kind of clothing?
It's clothing, soft goods. We have a pack parent that has a big empty truck that we load up and we bring everything to Savers and they give us, I believe it's 22 cents a pound for the clothing. So generally make anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 on this fundraiser. So it's a pretty significant chunk.
What do you mean by soft goods?
Like linens, clothing, curtains, that kind of thing. So no books, no household goods, that kind of thing.
Are there any additional questions? Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the license, subject to all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all the conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void, and with the conditions recommended by the DCG.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we waive the fee as this is a charitable organization.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. You're all
Thank you
set.
very
Thank you
much.
so much. And we will move forward with 7B. It is the one-day liquor license application by Knights of Columbus for the Knights at the Races fundraiser event. Would you like to come up? Oh, absolutely.
Thank you. Name's Joseph Butler. We are having our 15th annual Night at the Races fundraiser. For you guys that don't know, we raise between $8,000 and $10,000 that night. And I'm applying to get a liquor license, one-day liquor license for the event.
Sure. Do board members have any questions? Is there a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the license, subject to all the applicable requirements of the state and town and if its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license subject to all conditions stated upon it. Failed to comply with any and all of the conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void, and with the conditions recommended by the DCG to be placed on the license.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is yes as well.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion, as this is a charitable organization, that we waive the fee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. You're all set.
And just so everybody knows on TV and here, it is April 27th. And there's tickets available now. So if any town representatives who haven't been yet would like to come, give me a call and we'll set it up. How's that sound? Thank you very much. You guys have a great night.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
You
Joe.
too. Okay, so moving back to 4B, we have the fiscal year 2023 audit presentation.
Madam Chair, I'd like to introduce Tom Scanlon. I'd also ask Karen to come up too, our CFO. Just some observations I made. Tom, thank you for coming out tonight. Once again, I think you're going to see that you'll read through the audit report, you'll see some positive results, reflective primarily of a good year in terms of appropriation surplus, about 1.6 million, revenue surplus of about 1.5 million. Unassigned fund balance is running roughly about 38% of total general fund revenues. That's very good. And we continue to increase all of our reserves, our OPEB stabilization, free cash, self-insured trust, and we're building up our enterprise retained earnings accounts. Although you're going to see positive results for the audit that's before you tonight, I am concerned about the future. And Tom and I had a brief discussion. I think we're seeing difficulty throughout the Commonwealth as a result of decline in state revenues. In addition to the evaporation of ESSER funds and ARPA funds that carried us through and allowed us to use some of that money and not use general fund revenues. So that is no longer in place, and it's creating some concerns. It the local government level. So with that, I'll turn that over to Tom, and I don't know if Karen wants to add anything, but Tom, the mic is yours.
Thanks. You guys aren't for exciting night. You got National Grid, you got the audit. You guys got me scared you were writing too much. I thought it was my report. I'm like, oh. So for those who don't know me, I see a couple new faces. I'm Tom Scanlon. I'm the managing partner at Scanlon Associates. We specialize in auditing municipalities. We have about 80 clients across the Commonwealth, so kind of use that to do our testing, kind of reflect, kind of compare. I think gives us good experience. What we did do here is a financial audit. It's not a forensic audit. I know that's a kind of a buzz term out there now. And what that is we're opining on your financial statements. That's our overall goal. As far as the audit goes, your financial reporting is excellent. And what I mean by that, as a financial transaction occurs in the town, it's being properly reported through your general ledgers. And also, when you make a report out to outside agencies like state DOR, bond rating agencies, the product that you're giving them is excellent. And there's a lot of respect from outside agencies to the town of Auburn. So I think you should take pride in that. And from an audit standpoint, you're a relatively low-risk audit client. You have good controls in place over your cash, your key accounts. So as a firm, we spend a lot of time at the bank statement level. We put a lot of emphasis on there as your cash reconciliations go and your accounts receivables go. I mean, those are your two main assets and your two main revenue sources. So as we do our testing, again, we're a lot of time at the bank statement level, but what we do is a lot of analytical. So we're looking at surplus accounts, deficit accounts. Obviously, if you see a deficit account, that's bad. You want to kind of look into that. And we're also, as revenue is given from the state, where it's recorded on your financial statements, that's risk to us. So if they're giving you a grant, we don't want to see a grant end up in the general fund. And vice versa, we don't want to see a general fund receipt end up in a special revenue account. And you don't have that on your balance sheets. So when you get your free cash certified, you should have confidence in that number, which as a board, you're making your decisions off of that free cash number. So as we go, I just want to kind of touch base like on your financial statements because they're unique when you have like two sets of balance sheets in a government. And on the first 2 pages, on pages 17 and 18, these are your entity-wide balance sheets. They're for accountants. Yeah, that's about the only people that kind of get use out of these because you'll see you have fixed assets on there and depreciation's respective on your, and you don't have depreciation in your budget. But this is, what it focuses on is the long-term approach. So what you'll see on here is your OPEB liability, which I know we talked about it in the past. Your OPEB liability is $61.8 million. I don't think you're funding that overnight. But what you do have, you put in about $500,000 a year into a trust. Your trust is approximately $8 million at June 30th. So, and you're looking at your health insurance plans, and you're also looking at your personnel as you hire. So again, I think it's really long-term thinking. I wouldn't take $2 million out of free cash, which is a reserve for you, and stick it into an OPEB fund because it comes unrestricted to restricted. So I think what you do in there, we look at, you see unrestricted net position, negative 45 million. When you look at that, there should be some concerns, but the two drivers are your pension liability and your OPEB liability. And again, the pension liability, you're on a funding schedule with the county, so that should be going away 2034, I think it is. So I think you're addressing all your long-term liabilities, but OPEB is really, I don't think we're going to be around type thinking. So, and you're doing everything when we look at your balance sheets. I don't know if you have any questions about any specific things on that.
Board members have any questions?
And then on page 20, this is where bond rating agencies are looking at you, is where you're getting your high grades. And as Ed had pointed out, when you look at the general fund, you'll see unassigned 27 million. As a benchmark, they compare it to your budget. Your budget's about 75 million, so you're 36 to 38%. I mean, that is outstanding. And that allows the town to really have some flexibility and really have the ability to pivot with what's coming down the pike, I think, I think we're going to be hitting a fiscal cliff. But this year, all your years of planning are being reflective on your balance sheet, and that's when you go out to bond, they're looking at this number. And what that 27 million is representative of, it's your free cash and it's your stabilization fund. So under GAAP financial statements, your stabilization fund is under the general fund, not under the trust. So when they look at, so if you took $3 million from free cash and put it in stabilization, you won't see your fund balance increase because it's all within the same fund. And then we also look at your balance sheet here, under the committed, under the non-major columns, that is made up of your ambulance fund, your capital improvements trust, which is 1.5 million. So that's another reserve that's not really accounted for in your general fund, but it's off in the non-major funds, and also a pension reserve fund. So when you look at, you're very, very healthy. And again, as an accountant and comparing it to other towns, I can't say enough about like your reserves, and I think DOR on bond agencies, and that will allow you, again, you got some tough decisions coming down the pike. You can have the ability to make those decisions. And then as we the next kind of statement on page 24, I think it's always important to know like where you're generating your reserves from, how your fund balance is increasing. And this is your budget versus actual. This is probably the most important financial statement within here. As we look on your total revenue side, as we compare how you're setting your budget, and that's the third column, that's the final, is you collected more, 1.7 in revenue than you estimated, which is very conservative. You can see the bulk of it, the $6 million is coming from excise and other taxes, which again is based on market. You don't want to increase those. As you increase your budget, yes, you reduce the tax rate, but your free cash will be lower. And I think your financial team that you kind of have in place has a very excellent understanding of how that's all affected and how it works. And so, and then you can see on the investment income side, which I think caught everyone by surprise in 2023, even us, is the investment income shot up the roof for everybody. When you look at years, you budgeted 40 and collected 749. Again, that's all market-based. I probably wouldn't increase my local revenues on investment income. But again, that's how you generated it. And then you had turnbacks for appropriations of 1.6, which is, I think you're right in the norm on that. So as you looked at your budget, you generated 3.1 in free cash that was certified. Again, like I say, I can't say enough about your financial reporting and conditions. But I'm an auditor, so trying to project I think there are going to be some tough times coming for municipalities with the influx of all the COVID monies that came in between, as Ed mentioned, ESSER, ARPA. That's going to have an impact on your future budgets. I know traditionally you haven't taxed up to you always had levy capacity. You might be going up to your levy capacity. I mean, one thing I do want to point is that subsequent to the fiscal year, I think you purchased a piece of land for $4 million of free cash. Not too many towns have the ability to do that. You can see that's reflective on your balance sheet, what that saved into the borrowing market where the rates have got going. So that's what I kind of mean when you have budget flexibility and your accountability. All those years of your planning and your financial policies that you had is reflective on here. And that's as we're auditing your financial statements, what composes that unassigned fund balance. We want to make sure there's no grant sitting in there. There's no something special revenue. Like I said, your financial reporting, I think is very sound. That's kind of all mine. I know Karen's got a 45-minute presentation, so I don't want to take up too much of her time.
Do board members have any questions?
I just have one comment, just to piggyback on what Tom was saying about, some concerning times ahead. I think in order to balance a 25 budget, we squeezed a lot of juice out of the grapes on the local receipt side that resulted in a $1.5 million revenue surplus in FY '23. Because if you recall, the state average was roughly $1 million a year. We only get 100,000. So we have to make up that $900,000 somewhere in order to just maintain services that we presently have. So that is concerning because we always took a conservative approach that led to the building up of some of these reserves. I think you're going to see a slowdown of this. We're not going to see the free cash values that we had seen over the past 10 years. So I just want you to keep that in mind because we're not going to have that flexibility in terms of 50% use of our net gain on free cash if that value is going to go down. So we may have one more good year in '24. I think we have a pressing year in '25. I think we'll see positive results of '24, not indicative of what we're seeing here, but we'll still see some positive results.
I agree with that. And if you have any questions about there, if you have any concerns about anything, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thanks. Hope you guys are all early tonight.
Thank you.
So we're moving on to number 6, the communication. There's a Grandview Street residence letter regarding noise from 290. Do I need to read this?
No, a letter has been provided to you from a resident on, let me see, on Grandview Street. I can tell you that we addressed this in a previous inquiry that came to the board. We met with Mass DOT, we met with the District Highway Director, Barry Lorian, on a number of items relative to some roadway concerns, this being one of them. And I think the letter will show that we jumped on this pretty quickly to see if there was anything we could do in order to, I think, buffer the noise that is currently resulting it because the traffic is backing up because of the construction on the on-ramp. Mass DOT did an evaluation, and it resulted in a letter which we sent to the individuals who were concerned about abatement of noise and pollution in traffic. But I think they want to see if they could take this to another level, and the letter is suggesting that they would want to petition our state legislature, and they were CC'd on the memo that was provided for by Mass DOT, so they're aware of the situation. But I think the resident is pointing to a number of studies that were done, all in the eastern part of the state and nothing west of the Mass Pike. And they would like to see the legislature take some action and do a study. So I have no control over that. Certainly, the memo went to the board. I don't know what the board's desires are as a result of the letter, but happy to have a conversation with the board regarding that.
Board members have any questions?
Yeah, what did Mr. Lorian from the Department of Transportation say regarding the expansion of the Mass Pike on-ramp? What's the time frame on that?
So they actually, as a result of our concerns, they actually accelerated the project. They put more of a workforce on the project to speed it up by 6 months. So they're hoping to get it done, I think it was by the end of the summer, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good thing. So I think they're going to see some increased, continued traffic there until the project is complete. But in addition to that, they walked the site, they visited the site, they looked at it. It doesn't qualify under their criteria to do a study, but they were willing to do some additional plantings there to help buffer the noise and to create hopefully a remedy to the situation. I think the resident was appreciative of work the town did, but not satisfied with the results. So I think they're looking to advance it another step.
Well, I mean, we do have issues, and I notice as I drive around town on the weekends, especially on Route 12 and Route 20, there have been significant backups, and people have been getting off at 10A or whatever it is now, the Millbury-Worcester exit, and it backs up on 12. And when I say it backs up on 12, it backs up to almost Church Street. So there are issues, longer issues than just this particular project. But, you know, I think we should at least have them look, not just here, but look at 12 and 20. Because I feel like, you know, I don't understand what their criteria is, and I have to be careful because I work for these guys. But, you know, traffic studies shouldn't be a difficult thing for a transportation agency to provide. They have oceans of engineers. So I think that if we have to go to the legislature, me personally, you know, I think that's not great that the agency isn't willing to.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know that she's asking for a traffic study. I think she's asking for a noise study. Is that, could the town ask Representative Moore and Frost about a noise study along in that area?
I would be happy to have a conversation with the delegations relative to this request. I don't know how much flexibility there is. I think based upon the discussion I had with Barry Lorian, they had a list of criteria that would determine whether or not it was eligible or not. It didn't meet that criteria. But certainly we can make another attempt to see if they would reconsider that. In addition, I can have a conversation with our delegation to see what the likelihood would be of a bill being filed that would allow for this study to be done.
I would like to see us investigate a traffic study for 12 and 20, because I don't think that's going away. Those backups have been happening for quite some time now.
So do you need a motion from us?
Madam Chair, I think because the letter was addressed to the board, there should be an action from the board of some sort, and then we can follow through with that.
Do we run into a problem where it's under communications and we haven't said that we potentially will have a vote?
I think just the sentiment of the board, if they want to ask me to take a look into the matter without a vote, that's fine. I can gauge the.
I make a motion that we ask our town manager to pursue this matter with our legislators.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. So we're moving to 7C. There's a drain layers license. I believe this is.
Thank you.
Is there someone on the line for the application?
I'm sorry, I didn't know we were live, but we're the Ventruskas and we were listening.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm so glad you were able to listen in.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I thought we were just listening. I didn't know that you could hear as well.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Thank you very much for that, though.
Did you want to add anything?
No, I don't want to add anything. I just agree. I don't know all the people that are there, but I do agree that the backup, and I think I said it in the letter, is affecting the whole town because we have so many on and off ramps that when the traffic backs up on 290 that is going to the Mass Pike, I've seen it back up as far as Hope Ave. And then they're getting off, on our exit near Swanson, coming back on Vine. and on Route 12 and 20, as the other gentleman said. So those observations, we completely agree with. But the thing that we disagree with is that I think it's been exacerbated by the ramp, obviously. And, you know, with the big rollover with the truck, with the batteries and all that, we really feel it's getting dangerous. And with the proximity to the school and the park and everything near us on Grandview, Richards, et cetera, this backup we don't feel is just going to go away when the ramp goes away. We just think it's increasing because of traffic volume. So I think the traffic study is a good idea as well.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for hearing us.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening. So we do.
You as well.
Thank you. We're moving along to 7C, the drain layers license. The applicant does not have to be here, as it is a renewal of a previous license. Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the license, provided all applicable requirements of the state and town and any of its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all conditions. On if failed to comply with any and all conditions, shall render the license null and void.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. 7D is the annual meeting warrant, so we need a vote to approve the warrant, subject to final review by town council.
I would make a motion that we forward this to council for legal review and that we approve it, subject to his review.
Is there a second?
The warrant reflects the removal, right?
No, you were gonna bring it in tonight. to
Oh,
ask them.
which article was that?
19.
All right, Madam Chair, before you take a vote on that, we are requesting at this time removal of Article 19. It's no longer required. We've identified funds to get that, those repairs done.
Okay. Do you need a vote?
Make a motion that we approve the warrant article, but we remove Article 19 and send it to council for his review.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. We have no proclamations or recognitions. There is a gift acceptance.
I would make a motion that we accept with gratitude.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. We have no town manager items. There are no table items. There are no member items. There's nobody signed up for the second public comment. In our packets, there are meeting minutes from February 26th. Are there any corrections? Hearing none, I will accept them as read. And I would need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair is a yes as well. We are adjourned.